Do the markets make you want to run and hide? We can fix that. Let's go for a ride. Every investor eventually reaches a point where the market puts their conviction to the test. All it takes is one rough day for negative headlines to dominate the news, social media to fill with fear, and people to start questioning everything they own. Before you let any of that influence your thinking, ask yourself one simple question. Has anything actually changed at the fundamental level? I'm not talking about today's price action or the latest market sentiment or whoever's opinion happens to be trending online. I'm talking about the technology itself, the purpose behind it, and the problems it was designed to solve. If those things remain the same, why should short-term volatility completely change your long-term outlook? One of the biggest advantages any investor can have is understanding exactly what they own and why they own it. When your confidence is built on research instead of emotion, you're much less likely to be shaken by every scary headline or market swing. The XRP ledger still settles transactions in seconds. It still allows value to move across borders 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and at an incredibly low cost. None of those capabilities disappear simply because the market has a red day. Price often reflects emotion in the short term, while fundamentals reflect reality over the long term. That's why conviction isn't built by staring at charts all day. It's built by understanding the technology, recognizing the problem it's solving, and seeing the role it could play in the future of global finance. Charts can tell you how investors feel today, but fundamentals help you understand where the future may be heading. Let's just take a moment to remind ourselves of why we invested in the first place. When you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, most of the daily price movement becomes nothing more than noise. Markets have always moved in cycles, and fear has always been a part of investing. Unfortunately, fear also causes people to make some of their worst financial decisions. FOMO convinces investors to chase prices after they've already skyrocketed, while panic convinces them to sell after prices have already fallen. That's often how wealth gets transferred from impatient investors to the disciplined ones. History has shown time and time again that those who stay patient during uncertain times are often the ones rewarded when the cycle eventually turns. That's why Warren Buffett's famous advice continues to stand the test of time. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. It's easy to stay confident when every chart is green, but the real test comes when everyone around you believes the sky is falling. And that's when truly understanding what you own becomes your greatest advantage. Instead of getting caught up in every breaking news story or short-term market event, pay attention to the much larger transformation that's taken place behind the scenes. One of the biggest developments happening in finance today is the tokenization of real-world assets. We're talking about bringing assets like real estate, government bonds, commodities, precious metals, and other traditional financial products onto the blockchain networks. Tokenization has the potential to make these assets easier to trade, faster to settle, more efficient, and more accessible than ever before. This is no longer just an idea being discussed inside the crypto community. It is actively on the front page of everything happening in Washington and the rest of the world. And if you still think this is just another crypto talking point, what is Cynthia Lummis saying about what's happening with the Clarity Act?
Now is Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis. She is the chairwoman of the Senate Digital Assets Subcommittee. Senator, great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me.
You as well, Maria.
What's your take? Your Digital Asset Market Structure Clarity Act would create a regulatory framework, establish new SEC disclosure rules for certain tokens, provide greater clarity for the crypto industry, and the bill seeks to expand law enforcement tools to combat crypto-related crime by applying anti-money laundering and sanctions rules to crypto exchanges, but you can't get it over the finish line. What's the problem?
Well, it's taken us virtually every day for the last 10 months to get this bill in the condition it's in today, and we're ready. So we will be introducing in the next few days. We're going to be in session now for 4 straight weeks. It's very important that we get this bill across the finish line before the August recess begins, so we can make the markets aware of the stability that will be provided to them if they remain onshore in the United States to do business. This is a pivotal time for the industry, and we want to meet their needs. We also want to meet the needs of law enforcement with regard to preventing illicit finance and provide consumer protections. We think we've accomplished that goal with this bill. It's been arduous, but we're ready for prime time.
Wow, we are ready for prime time, she says. So if this is truly happening, where does Ripple fit into all of this? For years, most of the headlines surrounding Ripple have focused only on lawsuits and speculation. But behind the scenes, even during this lawsuit, this company has continued to expand its global footprint by forming new partnerships, securing licenses, and obtaining regulatory approvals. They have continued to work with financial institutions and payment providers around the world. Now, these developments don't always dominate the news articles, but they are worth paying attention to because lasting adoption isn't built through hype, it's built through infrastructure and long-term relationships. No single partnership will guarantee success, but when you look at everything together, you see a company continuing to invest in long-term growth. That's why I always say to watch what they do and not what they say. Anyone can make you a promise, but execution is what truly matters. While much of the crypto community has remained focused on short-term price action, Ripple has continued laying the foundation for what it believes could become an important part of the future global payment system. This is why I always encourage people to follow the money instead of the noise. Capital often moves long before the headlines catch up, and large financial institutions do not spend years investing in infrastructure and technology because of internet hype. They do it because they see the long-term value in it. So ask yourself this: if Ripple truly had no future, why did organizations around the world continue to work with them throughout one of the longest legal battles in crypto history? While much of the public was focused on courtroom headlines and social media debates, Ripple continued to expand internationally by entering new markets, making progress with regulators, and developing enterprise-level solutions. The biggest moves are rarely the loudest, and more often than not, they're happening quietly while everyone else is looking somewhere else. Infrastructure comes first, adoption follows, then the recognition of it comes last. Now take what you've just learned, keep it close in your mind, and listen to what Brian Steele has to say about what's coming.
Senate Republicans meeting with President Trump yesterday, hoping to get his stamp of approval on the updated language for the Clarity Act. The House sent it to the Senate a year ago, and Senator Cynthia Lummis was with me here earlier in the week, and she said that this bill will likely be brought to the floor in the next week, Congressman. A lot of people riding on this and business riding on this. You and other members of the Financial Services Committee are in New York to hold a field hearing on this bill. What can you tell us about the Clarity Act?
This is our opportunity to put real and substantive legislation on the floor and provide regulatory clarity in the digital assets space. Again, this is an example of the House doing its job. We passed this now approximately a year ago. The Senate has been struggling to move this forward. I'm optimistic that we get this across the line next week in the United States Senate. It's absolutely essential that the United States sets the gold standard for regulations in the digital asset space, that we unlock so much capital, human capital and financial capital that will come into these markets in the United States of America in a regulatory regime that protects consumers. Clarity does that. It's passed the House. It's time for the Senate to act.
So instead of allowing every headline to shake your confidence, focus on what's actually being built here. Stop obsessing over every 5-minute candle and start paying attention to the bigger picture. Know what you hold and watch what these companies are doing instead of what they say. And always follow the money instead of the noise. The further you zoom out, the more obvious it becomes that this conversation isn't getting smaller. It's growing at an alarming rate. The financial system continues to evolve, tokenization keeps gaining momentum, and blockchain infrastructure becomes a bigger part of the global financial discussion every single day. Whether that transformation happens next month or several years from now, the investors who remain disciplined, patient, and focused on the long-term picture will put themselves in the strongest position when that future finally arrives. So lock the F in, people. I'm your host, Steele, and we're holding the line. Let's navigate this machine one path at a time. I'll see you in the next video.